Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing another comparison video between Get Saucy and Saucy. That's right, we're back with another comparison video. These have gone down very well. I did a review of Bankable by Trick Trick Boom. That was very well received. Then I did a comparison video between Mastercon and Charged Up. Both great pickpocketer effects, and kind of, compared the two. And today we're going to be doing a very kind of interesting comparison where they're very close to home. They're both sauce related. And one is called Saucy, and then the other one's called Get Saucy. So, it's going to be an interesting one today. The point of these comparisons is not to create kind of competition necessarily between the two. I don't want to try and kind of, say one is much better than the other. What I want to do is kind of help you decide at home what your objectives are when you're performing, and then basically guide you into what product is best for you, because these are both two fantastic products today, and they're both sauce related. One is a physical product and then one is a download. So Get Saucy is by Mark Bennett, and he's released this through Alakazam. I don't know how that kind of partnership has worked, because I don't think he sold the rights to Alakazam, but I think they kind of helped fund it and release it together. And then one is a download by Ben Williams, another fantastic magician in the UK. So it's funny because these products came out so close together, and the names are very saucy, very similar, I should say. Sorry, the names have saucy in them. So it's very kind of funny how when you release a trick, how soon after another trick comes out. I had the same thing when I released the Jameson wallet with Alakazam, and the Nexus wallet, a very similar design, came out within the same week. These things happen. I don't believe there's any controversy in these two products coming out at a very similar time. I'm sure both Mark and Ben love each other very much. I'm sure they're very happy in the community, and there is no controversy as far as I'm aware. So I don't want to stir up any controversy by putting them head to head. I actually just want to kind of, help you make that decision at home in terms of, what you want to do and what product you want to go for. So let's have a look at the first one. This is Get Saucy by Mark Bennett. And in here is a box. You obviously get a box, but inside the box you will receive a couple of things to help you with this. So I have blocked out the YouTube link, or the Vimeo link, sorry, for the tutorial. But as you open this up, you are going to receive a load of these sachets. All right. You are also going to receive something which will help you seal up the sachets. I don't know whether I can reveal it or not. It's not necessarily a secret, but I don't believe I can really reveal. You're going to need 2 AA batteries, I think, for this. So and you can take this with you to the gig if you want to, and kind of do this on the fly, which is really a nice touch. So to have the sealer in the box ready to go is great, right? This is really good. And in fact, for Ben Williams's download, it would be lovely to have this to be able to perform Ben Williams's style of trick. So it's a really, really handy thing to have inside that box. And then you're going to receive your gimmicks. So these are the gimmicks that you receive. Now, you have in this, I've separated them out with elastic bands here, but you are going to have a load of French mustards. Well, let me turn this over actually. So you're going to have 3 barbecue sauces, and you're also going to have 3 ketchups with the gimmick to match, if you know what I mean. I think we all know what's going on here. It's based on colour changing penknives. But, I still feel like, for the sake of those who aren't magicians who are watching this, I feel like it's good to kind of hide that. So you're going to receive 3 barbecue sauces with ketchups to match for that routine. You've also got the Tabasco versions with ketchup to match. You've got mayonnaise again with ketchup to match, and then you're also going to receive 3 mustards with the ketchups to match. So you're going to get those for the colour changing routines. So all of them will require a ketchup in the routine, but then you can then use either French mustard, you can use Tabasco, barbecue, mayonnaise, etc. So that's what you get there. You then get these, which are kind of an invention of Mark, because he says that, you know, a lot at the end of a lot of kind of the color changing knife routines, it ends up being multicolored and, you know, all different colors when you change it. So he kind of wanted to stick with that theme. So he's got this kind of sachet that has like multiple different brands and different types of sauces on the back. And then the aim with this is to bring this in at the end and do like a hot rod force, or a kind of a timing force, depending on what you want, but you end up going to force ketchup. And so when you then push this through your fist like so, it will end up being ketchup, you know, the one they've chosen. You can also end with a different one. So you might go with mustard, and then when you change it, it changes to ketchup. And they're like, oh, well, I chose mustard. Oh, okay. But then when you open it up, inside is mustard. So it's a nice kind of reveal like that. I want to get onto that a little bit later. I want you to stay tuned, okay? Stay tuned throughout this whole video, because there is a conclusion that I want to come up with, that I have come up with, that is slightly, I wouldn't say controversial, but if we could make this work, I think this would make the routine 10 times better. So do stay tuned until the very, very end of this video. I'm going to go quite concise. I'm going to, you know, blast through it. But do stay watching, because you have not heard the end of this, okay? Now, I want to talk about that. So you get all of those sachets that I've just talked about, and then you get 100 of these refills. So if you're doing a hot rod style routine, you get 100 of these ready to go. Now, he does talk about a few different kind of techniques. So when you first go on the video is about an hour and a half. Both of these, both the download with Ben Williams and Alakazam, are about an hour and a half. And what you get is, obviously, with this, you get the physical product, you get the way to seal up the sachets. Mark will go into detail about how to fill up the sachets with sauce and reseal it using the gimmick. So you kind of get that kind of tutorial and loading up the sauces with this. And you can really load it up with whatever you want. So you could load the ones up with sugar or whatever. You are slightly limited. I'm going to get onto that in just a moment. But yeah, so you have that. And Craig Petty is on there, so you know, it's great having his input on there and bringing in new ideas and routines. The video is basically them sat down at a table. You see a couple performances at the very beginning, and then they'll be sat down at the table going through their different versions. They will be talking about the paddle moves. They'll be going into details and in the different kind of changes, visual changes, not so visual changes, all sorts. He'll then go through the hot rod force. Craig will then teach you the timing force. So if you don't like the hot rod force and spelling out, you know, SIX, etc. for 6, Craig teaches you this kind of timing force, which is quite nice as well. They then also mention card to sauce packet ideas. So Craig will go through a version of kind of changing a sachet into a playing card, into their signed playing card. So there's kind of an unusual reveal there. They will also go through a very hands-off, you think of a card, it's now completely disappeared, you spread the cards out, it's completely disappeared, and now it's inside the sauce packet. That version is not signed, but very, very clean and open, you know, lovely way of doing it. And yeah, so it really is the transpo, the transposition of it in their hands. So let me just show you what it would look like with the ketchup and the French mustard. So you have the ketchup, the French mustard. If I put them in my hand and I take out, let's say, the French mustard here, if I just kind of rub the back of my hand like this, you can actually see that I've just switched it for the ketchup there, and now inside my hand is the French mustard. So that's the kind of transpo routine. You can then do it in your pocket, etc., and come out like that. So if you are looking for a different version to color changing pen knives, or you're looking for a different version of 5-in-1 transpo by kind of J. Noblezada, this is a good alternative. It's very down to earth. If you go into the pub, bring a couple of these with you, and you can just pretend to pull it out of the sachet pot and go ahead and perform it. So it's a really nice, very, very visual transposition, and I think it's brilliant. The effect is fantastic. There's a few things I want to talk about. What I don't like about it. It sounds horrible. I don't mean that, but there's a few things that I think are missing to this pack, and one of them is the fact that if I bring these over here, you don't get one ungimmicked ketchup sachet in the whole set. Now, the way that it's structured with Mark's routine, you don't need it, right? So I want to stress that. If you liked Mark's routine, which is 2 versions of the transposition, then ending with this hot rod sauce packet. So he brings the sauce packet out at the end and then does that routine. If you love that routine, then go ahead. This is everything you need is in the box. You know, it is a brilliant routine and you're good to go. What I would have loved is some ungimmicked ketchup ones, and I'm surprised that they didn't include that. It is a bit unusual. Now the reason why is I have a routine in my mind which I just think would have been so good for this, and I've spoken to Mark. He's saying that there's a chance that he might bring these out later, so don't rule this out completely. I think if we get enough people commenting in the comments saying please Mark, please, then Mark might pay attention to this and think actually there's enough people interested, I might order, you know, a set of these. It would have been lovely to have bulk ketchups rather than the hot rod force. The hot rod force is nice, it's a kind of a quirky ending, but you're bringing out this kind of novelty sachet that doesn't exist in the real world. Now what would have been lovely is to have a ton of normal ketchups and also normal mustards, normal mayos, and, you know, maybe had like 10, 20 of each or something like that. And just maybe get rid of the Tabasco, get rid of the barbecue or something like that. Just have like the mustard and the ketchup and just bulk 100 of each would have been great. The reason why is this. Imagine this. Imagine having the ketchup and the French mustard, right? You take out the mustard, it changes to the ketchup, right, for example, and you go ahead and do that routine. It changes twice, once in your hand, once in their hand, and then at the very end, you then have them hold on to the ketchup sachet, you hold on to the mustard, and you say they've switched places. And they open up their hands and they haven't switched places, right? They switch places the first time, they switch places the second time, and then at the end, they're still holding the ketchup and you're still holding the mustard, and you're like, well, I don't know what's gone on there. But then when you open up the ketchup, inside the ketchup now is the mustard. And then they open up the mustard and inside there is the ketchup. That would have been, in my opinion, the best ending to the whole routine. You know, I would have had a pickpocket routine built. I would have had it in their hands, bump into them, you know, and they switch places. I would have put it in their pocket, bump into them, switch places. And then at the end, I would have said, you know what, a good pickpocket doesn't steal your wallet. He steals what's inside the wallet, right? Which I think every magician who does pickpocketing has said those lines. But you say, you know what would be more impressive if I stole the contents of the sachet, and then they open up and see that it's switched places. In my opinion, that's it. That is the best routine with sachets out of this whole video that you could do. All right. So I think that personally, I think would be a lovely, lovely addition if Mark would make tons of just ungimmick versions, and then you can then switch those in during the routine and end with the switch of the sauces. It's like Fizzmaster, you know, but with sauces or any kind of transposition with sauce, I suppose. But yeah, so amazing quality. The quality of these, I want to say, are absolutely fantastic. Let me just show you these, right? So these have been made to look just like the real thing, right? They open up nicely, which allows you to fill them with your sauce. They seal incredibly well. So you just, with that sealer, just done, you're done straight away. Now, what they have done as well is they've made these smaller than your average sachet. So an average sachet is slightly bigger, right? But they've made them smaller so that if you've got smallish hands, right, you're not going to see anything poking out here and here when you're pulling out the opposite, you know, sachet than what you're claiming to have pulled out. So yeah, the way that they're made just slightly smaller so that they are easier for all hands, which is lovely. So an absolutely fantastic product. Great amount of tutorial, you know, hour and a half is just brilliant, and having Craig's input with that. There's one particularly interesting routine where they're holding the ketchup in their hand and you take a photo and then you then switch it with the photo. You know, they switch places, and then when they look at the photo, they're not holding ketchup anymore, they're holding the French mustard. A really nice little take which you can do with this. So I think it's fantastic. It's £35. I think they've priced it really well. The packaging's great. The fact that you get the sealer as well, which is lovely to take out to a gig. But if you wanted to do, so like Peter Nardi on his review of this said that he would have loved to also kind of do things where you take sugar and put it in your hand and make it disappear. And then inside the ketchup sachet is sugar, right? You kind of go, oh, okay, you know, you kind of pretend to throw it back at the pot of sachets and you say, oh, my aim isn't very good now, I must have missed. Grab a ketchup and open it up and have a look, and now inside the ketchup sachet that's been on the table the whole time is now sugar, right? Lovely, right? The amount of stuff you can do with this, with cards going in there and sealing them and all sorts. The only thing is, whenever you want to do something like that, you've got to use the novelty sachets, which for me, I'm just like, I don't know. You could just not even draw attention to the back, you know, and just make out as though, oh, okay, these are the different versions, the different things that you know, Heinz sell, even though it's got Hellmann's on the back as well as of one of them. But you could just say, okay, this is, no, it's just advertisement for the other ones. You know, that's probably what I would do if I was going to do a card to sachet after that routine. Just don't even draw attention to the hot rods on the back. However, it would be lovely to have just a standard one so that when you ring it in later, they don't realise that you've done a switch, right? So having a card to ketchup after you've done the transpo and everything like that would be a lovely ending to this routine. So great, like I said, but the way that they kind of make you end is with the novelty sachets, with the hot rod force, and particularly I don't love that ending, but everything else, brilliant. So let's talk about Ben Williams's routine. Ben's, I have nothing to show you because it's a download, right? It's an hour and a half, and he only teaches one trick. So Get Saucy, you've got the kind of transpositions. You've got this kind of transposition with the phone, etc., the picture on the phone. You've also got the kind of a card to sachet to card / card in sachet. Ben Williams is just one routine, okay, and he does it very well. John Morton said, I think on one of the reviews, that it's kind of, or a testimonial, he said it's essentially like a close-up worker's version of Bill and Lemon, which it really is. Like, it's a really, really good routine. So this is what happens in the routine. You use standard sachets. So he's going to teach you how to get a normal sachet. It could be a coffee sachet, it could be a ketchup sachet, whatever you want, within reason. And he will teach you how to empty it, clean it out, load it, and then reseal it without glue, using a very similar method to what Get Saucy teaches, without actually having to have anything extra as such. It's going to be a hair product that either you or your partner likely will have in the house. So yeah, it uses something quite standard with that. If you don't own one of them, then it's going to cost you, £10-20 on Amazon to get just the basic one to be able to do that. So he's going to teach you how to kind of seal those up, which is great. The routine is as follows. Like I said, so what you'll have is you'll have a bag like this, and you'll get someone to either name a number between 1 and 100, or you're going to get them to look at a notepad with lots of different objects on, or you're going to have them select one out of a pack of cards with lots of different random objects on. Lo and behold, they're going to choose a tomato ketchup sachet. And when you then get them to look in the bag, they reach into the bag, there is a ketchup sachet inside, right? So that's that one thing, and they can feel the sauce inside there, etc. You place it back in the bag, they hold on to the bag, and now someone will select a playing card. They'll select a playing card, you'll tear a corner off the playing card, they will keep hold of the corner. The card is then folded and disappears, okay? It's gone, and you say it's now in the bag. So then the person number one reaches into the bag, not in there. You say, sure, that's not in there. Take the sachet out, have a look deeper inside, not in there. You say, hold on, I feel the sachet. And they feel the sachet, and now the sachet that they felt at the beginning with the sauce in now feels a bit different. And the reason why is because then when they open it up, they tear it open, they reach inside, and the playing card and the piece perfectly match because it's the exact same card. And yeah, there you go. So it's a really, really nice card to impossible location routine. I was very, very impressed with the teaching that Ben had on here. I don't know what software he's using, but there's very cool transitions. There is captions the whole time. He's a funny man, isn't he? He's a nice man as well. Both him and Mark just seem to be lovely. And Craig also, because he's featured on Mark's video. All lovely people, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so they're all, he teaches that. He will teach you lots of different ways of switching the corners of the card as well. So he's got quite a few nice little ways of doing that. Switching the sachets, doing all this kind of stuff. He's then going to show you multiple performances, which is great. And then he'll also do like a director's commentary on one or two of those performances as well. So you're getting a lot for your money. He's also going to teach you different ways of making the card vanish as well. So yeah, he's teaching you how to seal up the sachets, how to, make the card vanish. He's teaching you how to switch the corner in a really good way. It's just a really powerful, all-round great routine. Like, this really is a worker. It will teach you how to make up loads in advance, and so that you're ready to go for the next table or the next group of people. So the amount of kind of working advice is just really, really impressive on Ben's products. Like, it's just an excellent routine. He's spent so long with that video, putting it together, and really giving you a lot for your money in terms of the value and the kind of other tips that you're learning throughout that. He also does on that talk about how, because now he's teaching you how to load normal sachets rather than kind of specific sized ones. Mark's, you can also, you can use his way of sealing it with normal sachets as well. But because Ben's is a card-in sachet, he's not doing kind of transpositions. It means he can use any sachet he wants, which then allows you to do other things with sugars and all sorts being, put in the wrong sachet, etc. And he has this nice kind of idea where you could get the sachets and have one ketchup and one mustard on the table. You cover them with a mug each, and you say they switch places. And now you've got to make them switch back. And so you then lift up the mugs, and they obviously haven't switched. They're back to where they were. And then you can then do it again and actually say, now they have switched. And then you lift that up, and now the sauces have switched places. So it was at that point that I thought, oh, I love that sauce switching idea. And then I looked back at my stack of Get Saucy sachets, and realised, I can't do that quite yet with what you get in Get Saucy. So £25. It says £25 plus VAT on Ben's download. I don't know whether that is just included. I'm not sure. But very similar kind of pricing. Obviously, it's about £10 difference. But with Get Saucy, you obviously get loads of the sachets, the hot rod sachets especially, and you also get the sealer. Whilst in Ben's routine, you don't get anything physical, but he will teach you loads of subtleties with what you can find out and about. And just he'll give you a lot more kind of pro tips and walkthroughs with his routine versus two guys sat down in the studio just going through ideas. Very good ideas, I have to say, but they're different in this kind of style. So that is it. So in a vague way, I would say you need to get saucy. Does that help? No, I think really, if you obviously want to do the transpo routine, then Get Saucy is great and you should buy it. The amount of stuff that they've thrown in terms of ideas and the quality of the product and the fact that they're made smaller for your hands and to manipulate is great. If you want like a really hard-hitting 1-2 phase routine gig, table to table, obviously Get Saucy, you can do that. But Ben goes into more, if you want a really convincing card to sachet, then this is the one to go for. So Get Saucy, they do teach a kind of card to sachet routine, but it's kind of more as like a nice additional routine, whilst Ben's is dedicated to that. And so, yeah, my opinion, I would buy both, right? I need to disclose, by the way, that Peter Nardi sent me a Get Saucy 4 review, which I really appreciate Alakazam sending me that, so that's brilliant. And if you love Get Saucy, you can use my 5% discount code and you will save 5% on that by using the code at the bottom of the screen. And then I also then approached Ben Williams and I said, look, I'm doing a review of Get Saucy. I would love to also have a look at yours and do a comparison between the two. And so he sent me the download link for free as well. So thank you both to those guys who have done that. I feel like I'm not influenced because both have been sent to me for free, which is quite nice. Yeah, I just think it's really good. Now, obviously, you can save 5% if you order Get Saucy at Alakazam, but also if you buy directly from Ben Williams, he says that if you look at it and you watch the video and you just don't like it, or there's a few issues that Ben can't help with, like he will help you, but if you still feel unsatisfied by the help that you've received from Ben, then you'll get your money back. That's a guarantee that he has if you buy it directly from him. So if you look at the description of this YouTube video, in the description I will put the download link for Ben's product there, and also the kind of checkout code and everything for Alakazam as well. I recommend getting both. Like, you are going to learn a lot of really, really great things from Ben's video that you will be able to incorporate into Get Saucy. Get Saucy is fantastic with the transpositions and everything. The one thing I would say is if Mark, watching this, if you could make a ton of, maybe just 2, like the mayo or the French mustard and the ketchup, if you made tons of those that we could buy, then you are looking at such a powerhouse of a routine. Like, to end with the card at the end of that transposition routine in the way that Ben teaches would be phenomenal. Plus, being able to then do the source transposition at the end, I think would just make this an incredible, incredible routine. It is very good as it currently stands, but I think if you could do that, and if people comment in the comments below saying, yes, please, Mark, then I'll show Mark this, and hopefully he'll take some action and he'll get some made up for us. Brilliant routines, great for just down the pub, great strolling at a gig as well. These are both absolute workers, and I want to thank you all for watching this video. I've tried to keep it as concise as I can, but I want to give you the most amount of detail as well. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Now, if you tune in next week, I will be sharing with you my summer gig EDC video. This is something I do every single year, and this year I've really got it down to just 1 or 2 pockets in my trousers. That's it. I know during summer gigs things get very hot and you can't really wear your jacket, and so you get quite restricted in terms of what you can perform. There are no card tricks in my working repertoire. That's impressive. So do pay attention to that video. That'll be coming out very soon, next week hopefully. Please subscribe, because you will never miss a video if you subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Also check out in the YouTube description my magic tricks that I produce and sell over at IainBaileyMagic.com, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.